Howdy everyone, it's your boy from Mediocre Streams. My name is Bad Start. Off to a bad start.
Well, better late than never.
I'm here with my review for Borderlands 3. I know it's been almost a year. It has been a year. It's been close. But this is better late than never, so better late than never. If you're new to our reviews, this would be the third one. Yeah, I don't play a lot of games. I don't play a lot of newish games, but I have played Borderlands 3. I'm here to talk about it, going in circles. In these reviews, I judge games by 4 points: story, graphics, visual sounds, that general stuff, gameplay, and functionality. It should speak for itself, but if you don't know, story is story. Graphics, visual sounds all speak for itself. Gameplay speaks for itself. Functionality is more about how well the game works. Glitches, frame rates, connection issues, all that. I judge them between 1 and 5. We total up the score. We get our total score between 0 and 20. Or I'll just put it at a number grading because that will make it easier. It's my reviews. I'll do, I can do what I want. Now, I'm a huge Borderlands fanboy. I got my tattoo. I've got a t-shirt that I'm not wearing right now because it's a long sleeve and it's hot outside. I played all the games. I have a great deal of love for them, especially 2. It was the best. If you haven't watched our best of the decade video, 2 was my #1 favorite game of the decade, last 10 years. So I really love these games. Borderlands 3, it's a long time in the making. 8 years since 2, 6 years, or not 8 years, 7 years since 2. I'm thinking 2020, not 2019 when the game came out. But yeah, and what is that? 5 years since pre-sequel, so it's been a long time since a main series Borderlands game. And 3, is it really worth the wait? Was it worth the wait? Have you, it's been a year since it's come out. Are you thinking about playing it? Especially since we got next gen consoles coming up. They just revealed they're doing free upgrades if you already own the game, so I'm in that group. Possible cross-platform. So if you're thinking about getting it, well, let's just go into it. First point is story. Now, this is around 10 years after the second game. You're dealing with these new villains called the Calypso twins. Troy and what's her fucking name? Tyrene. Wow. I don't know why my mind just on that. But these 2 villains are these cult leaders of this group called the Children of the Vault. This big galaxy-spanning cult that wants to find the Great Vault and attain godlike powers. And you, as a Vault Hunter, the new Vault Hunters, you gotta go in and stop them. It's pretty basic. I don't want to get into too much of the details in case you haven't played it. I don't want to spoil. As villains go, the Calypsos, they're no Handsome Jack. There's, he's a really high bar to meet. He was just a goat of a villain. The Calypsos don't reach that height. They're better than Commandant Steele from the first game, you barely even remember her. She has such a little presence. You forget that she's a siren, which is odd. That barely plays into the first game. Zarpedon from the pre-sequel, weak villain. The Calypsos, they have presence. They do feel like they are a decent threat because they are everywhere. They're always somewhat of a step ahead of you, but they have pretty generic motivation of just domination. Their upbringing as to why they want that is kind of interesting. I do find them intimidating and just how gleeful they can be in terms of really messing with you and killing people. They're really very much like Handsome Jack. They'll laugh and joke around about it. That can be unnerving, but they are not Handsome Jack. They're not someone that you're really that scared of, and they're not as funny or charming, but they get the job done as well as far as villains go. The game can catch you off with some of character deaths. There's some stuff in there that's just Whoa, I didn't see that coming. Again, I'm not going to get too into it, you know, to avoid spoiler territory. There's new characters. Some are pretty weak. Some that, you know, I can't even remember the new characters. A lot of them just don't stick with you. Hyphen de Leon is a new character. He's great. You hear his audio logs, and he's really just a funny guy. He's got like a funny way of talking, which always makes it entertaining to find his logs. I think Wainwright Jacobs is a fun character, just because he speaks in that Louisianan accent. You know, he's got some funny lines, but most of the other characters that are new aren't that engaging. You're not really interested in them. As far as enemies go, because this is taking you beyond Pandora, you can now travel from planet to planet. You got like several planets. The DLCs are out, so that adds more, and because of that, you got a whole bunch of enemies. And that's something that I really love about the Borderlands games, is that its setting allows them to have a diverse array of enemies. Or like flying enemies that can swoop down and hit you, or hit you with projectiles, shield enemies, big tanky enemies, range mate. Like there's a lot there that and then you have to take into account like what kind of damage will actually affect them, because like the previous games, you have, you know, corrosive damage, electrical damage, fire damage, and you know, corrosive is good on armor, electrical is good on shields. You know, you get the idea when you play the game, and if you've played the previous games, you know how that works. And because of all these different enemy types that are animals, machines, soldiers, psychos, there's a lot where you like, I gotta think about all these things I'm fighting. I gotta be well equipped. You know, maybe we got guys that come at you. I need a shotgun. Oh, it's armored, so I need a corrosive shotgun. And a lot of it's something that a lot of more realistic games don't have. You know, I've been playing all the Division 2. A lot of the enemies in that can feel pretty repetitive because it's bound to its realistic setting. But in a game like this, and you know, like Destiny 2, you got a bunch of enemies that hit you in different ways, that can be killed in different ways, and that keeps it fresh. And there are some really good boss fights. There's multiple ones as you find vaults, and a lot of them are like really cool. Just kind of design wise, attack wise, they can be a bitch. There's one in like the middle of the game that's really cool because he'll just get stronger and changes the way that he attacks. You know, and it's really just fun to take on with friends, and I'll get to that stuff in the gameplay element. Though I will say the final boss is pretty weak. You know, having played all these other games, I've seen a lot of these bosses and how tough they can be. You know, after playing like the pre-sequel when you had Shadow Trap, which was like one of the most memorable boss fights I've ever had in a game, mainly because of how tough he was and how long it took. This one, I don't know if it's because my brother and I were really high level, the boss just wasn't well balanced or designed. It was just not, kind of a very weak finale. I was hoping for something a little bigger, multiple stages. Again, trying to avoid spoilers, but it's just not a going out with a bang. It's not the warrior from 2. I think it's the sentinel from pre-sequel. That one was pretty hard and interesting. And as far as the humor goes, it's very, you know, this is Borderlands, is very cartoonish, silly, cringy at times, but one can argue that's part of the charm, is that it is intentionally cringy. You know, I fall into that category at times, but sometimes it can catch you with a good laugh, especially with some of the echo logs. It can give you a pretty amused chuckle. And the game is very well length. Even just a main quest, we're talking 20 hours, maybe more. Side quests, you can get up to it took us a couple days to beat, because there's a lot there. There's a lot of side quests, a lot of story stuff. Decently length game. I really give it points for that. It's not something that you can just run through. Hell, I haven't even finished my playthrough as the Siren. But overall, this is for a story, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It is not 2. It's better than I'd say better than 1 in areas. Better than 1 in pre-sequel in areas. But it's not the big thing that we were waiting for. There is humor to be found. There is some fun to be found. new characters, some are interesting. Returning characters are great. You know, Brick comes back, Tiny Tina comes back. If you see these DLCs, you got some characters from 2 coming back, and it's all great to hang out with these characters. Claptrap is still the best, even though people keep shitting on him. And I want to say that because they switched the actor for Claptrap, it was David Eddings, I believe, who did him before. I don't know who the new guy is, and I don't want to get into all the bullshit that went in to that, having switched actors. But the guy they got, he does a fine job. At times it's noticeable it's not the original actor, but he pulls off the jokes well. He does the dialogue well. They modulate his voice to sound close enough to the original actor where it's not, you know, off-putting. He does fine. Everyone does good as far as voice acting goes, especially a lot of the returning people because they know what they're doing. But 3 out of 5 for story. Now on to the next point. Graphics, visual, sound. Now this game allows you to travel to different worlds, as I said before, and with that you get some really nice landscapes, and it's all the cel shaded cartoony style that Borderlands has, which enhances how everything looks. You know, Swampy Lands of Eden 6 looks really incredible. When the reveal trailer, Promethea, the big city planet, it just looks gorgeous. And you know, if you're running this on PC, it is beautiful. Gearbox did not skip out on making this letting you go to all these different planets and having them all feel unique, and not even like the stuff you saw in the previous games. Like Promethea is not like Opportunity from Borderlands 2, which is probably the closest thing you compared to it. It's a lot more sprawling towers and big roads. Swamps of Eden 6 are not like the ones you've seen in the previous games. It's a lot greener, to put it. Beautiful worlds to go explore. You know, that goes with what I said about the enemy types. You know, Eden 6 has big dinosaur creatures, including the giant tyrant T-Rex guys that are just giving me carnivores flashbacks. This is a loot game, and with that you're picking up a bunch of guns, a bunch of shields and stuff. I mean, it's mainly the guns. Come on, Borderlands is all about the guns, and the guns are just awesome looking. But this is a game about loot, about getting guns, and the guns are incredibly designed. If you haven't played the games, you got different manufacturers of the weapons that all have different effects. I'll get to that in the gameplay element. You know, the Jacobs guns have a very old school wooden look to them. The TDR weapons are very boxy and I would say utilitarian. Then they all just look great, whether in the little details of like barrel spinning, vents with flames coming out or something, like just the little things that make it to where each gun is like, that's cool looking, and then they get really nice sound. Every gun has a unique sound. Going back to a lot of other loot games, again, Division 2, they get cool guns, but they're all modern based. It's very much like, oh, an M16. It looks like an M16. Destiny, it's a lot of the same guns, but here it's just the little differences of this gun looks like this gun, but maybe the barrel is different. Maybe the grip is different. Maybe it has a scope. You know, maybe it's got that rotary barrel that I freaking love that just spins up and it looks so cool. It's that thing. It really goes hand in hand with the loot aspect of these games. That not only are you finding cool shit, you're getting shit that looks cool. They're like, oh man, that's an awesome looking gun. Oh, and its stats are good too, but we'll get to that in gameplay. They upped the character animations. There's a lot less repetitious animations. They're more facially expressive, which is nice. Your mouths actually move when you talk, which is cool. Your enemies just have really cool designs. Malawans got a very cybernetic look to them. You know, the Children of the Vault are obviously psycho, so they got they're your typical psycho design. But there's some that are, shields. They'll just friggin' yeet their shields at you. Dinosaur enemies, bugs, little bug rat things called racks, of course. Like, you never feel like you're fighting the same enemies just on a visual level. Gameplay wise, you know, they all fight different, and that just adds to the game. You know, it's a beautiful looking game, beautiful sounding game, and because of that, because they really nailed the design aspect of everything, I'm giving the graphics, visuals, and sound, the GVS, as I will call it, a 5 out of 5. This is a beautiful game. I'm glad they put a lot of work into it. Definitely upping what we got in the previous games, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this is going to look on next gen when they up it with whatever the new K's. I don't know that technical stuff. You know, a beautiful looking game, beautiful sounding game. 5 out of 5. Definitely love that area of it. But now, the meat of Borderlands, of any game really, the thing that keeps you in, and that's the gameplay. Borderlands, if as you know, is a looter shooter, and I would dare to say that is the king of looter shooters, and 3 reaffirms that. And I played, you know, Division 2, Destiny 2. I'm sure there's other games that I've just forgotten because they just haven't held my attention. But Borderlands has always been excellent when it came to looting and the shooting, because they are really good at how the stats play out as you level up and you get gains as you get guns with more damage, but then you get away that against elemental effects that are so different from all the others. Reload speed, accuracy. They now have anointed weapons that have a little bonus effect for your classes. So maybe it'll be like you get bonus accuracy as you exit the mech of the gunner. There's just so much to pick up, and going back to the design aspect, not only are you picking up weapons and gear that have really unique designs, or I should say stats, but the designs, it all adds in to the core looting element of just finding cool shit that is not just cool looking, cool sounding. They do cool stuff between, you know, shields that have explosions that come out. I got a gun that shoots explosive hamburgers, no joke, or explosive buzzsaws that just bounce around and explode. You're getting cool shit that looks cool and does cool stuff. It really, like, you gotta play to get better things. The TDR weapons that not they used to just explode when you throw them. Now they'll like have little legs and go after enemies. They may, you know, stand in place as a sentry. Like, they just upped how the looting works in terms of what you're getting, and it's just incredible. No two weapons alike. They all have their different effects. It's just, it's that thing that makes you want to keep playing, because you want to see what new cool gun you get, what it does. It's not just how the way it looks, it's what the stats, the effects. I'm just gushing about it because Borderlands does this better than any other looter shooter. And, you know, I played Destiny, and it's just like, oh, this gun's cool looking, and I can, you know, it's got some cool effects, but explosive hamburgers. What other game is gonna let you get a gun that shoots explosive hamburgers? You know, they nail that aspect. The manufacturer point that I brought up in the previous section. Borderlands, you have different manufacturers: Vladoff, Jacobs, TDR, Malawan, whatnot. All have their unique effects, and that they've changed up since the last game. Like Vladoff, previous game, it was just the highest rate of fire. Now they all have underbarrel attachments. You can get one that has a grenade launcher, a shotgun, a taser, little rockets. TDR weapons, like I just said, used to just explode when you throw them, but now they can be little sentries. They can fly after their enemies, run towards their enemies, bounce around until they hit their enemies. Some guns will even bounce around and be like, ow, 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 as they do it. And they all feel unique in how they play, how they play. You know, if you're running with a Vladoff with a grenade launcher, obviously it's not going to feel the same as the Malawan. That Malawan weapons do better elemental damage, but now you can get ones that like lasers, or they charge up and shoot. So they all feel different. They all feel unique to their own manufacturer, is what I'm getting at. Hyperion plays different than a Jacobs. Jacobs have high damage, but all of them are semi-automatic. You get Hyperion weapons that have shields that come up in front of the gun, and they also have low recoil. They get more accurate the longer you shoot. That's been a thing since the second game, but the new stuff of the way TDR weapons work, flat off weapons work, all weapons, you can now switch between firing types, you know, burst or automatic. They changed this. COV is basically the bandit slash scav weapons, which are they look like something an orc from 40k would have, where they're just slapped together. And now their whole thing is they just build up heat rather than having a magazine, so you can have one that can fire a whole lot before heating up and needing to replace the barrel. They brought Atlas weapons back, which can have a tracker, darts, pucks, stuff that when you hit someone, every bullet that you fire afterwards will go towards them, which is really freaking cool. That's really awesome to have. Just the weapons are incredibly rewarding to find. You always get excited when you see something of high level because you're like, ooh, I wonder what this does. And the legendaries are just spectacular, and the little things they have, the little red text they have, you know, are always entertaining. The little references that they make. But as for classes, you got 4 classes. It doesn't seem like they're adding 2 more within the DLCs like they did with the previous 2 games. But you have Zane, Moze, Amara, and Flak. Zane is the operative. He has a lot of I should say I've only played Amara, Flak, and Moze. I will play Zane eventually, but my brother plays him, so I've seen what he can do. He can have holograms that can fly alongside him, drones that can fly out and attack enemies. A lot of like spy gadget based stuff, which is really cool. I'll have more to say about him once I play him, but I played Moze. She's the gunner. She's got a mech, which is I was all on that, and it's just unlike the previous games where you only have the one skill. You now can take that one skill and choose different effects. Like for Zane, you can replace his grenade with the drone that flies out and gets enemies. With Moze, you can choose the guns you have on your Iron Bear mech, maybe a Gatling gun or a rail gun or a power fist or a flamethrower, and you can upgrade those with like the minigun that does high damage but overheats really quick, or fires ice rounds and it does less damage but it heats up really slow, or rockets that lock on and fly at enemies, or a big nuke rocket. You know, I'll get to the other characters and what they can do, but she's really fun to play as. I highly recommend playing as her if you just want to have fun messing around with people, especially when you get the ability to keep your mech going after you get out of it, so it can just keep attacking. It's so good. Amara is your siren. She has different phase abilities, like a fist that can come out of the ground and hold people down, much like Maya's phase lock. She has a astral projection you can send at enemies and it'll damage them. I still have to play the other abilities she has. I'm doing a full playthrough. You can watch it. I'll put the playlist link up there. And Flak has its pets, a Skag, Jabber, and Spider, and you can choose like I want an Iridian Skag that has a certain effect when you send it to attack someone, and then they each have different passives. Like I believe the Skag does damage boost when you have it out, and you have them out all the time, which is really cool. Spider does health regen. I don't know what the Jabber does because I don't use it, but it can hold a gun, and you can upgrade to use bigger guns, and then you can choose like different skills of like send out racks that you can upgrade to ice enemies or bring health back. Gamma charge your pet so they become really big, and maybe they're dealing out radiation damage, which is the slag damage of this game, where enemies that are radiated take more damage. There's just so much stuff to play around with in these classes, and with the new DLC they've added more skills. So it gives you so much to play around with. It's a shame they're not adding more characters, as far as we know, because who knows, they could just surprise us. Because I would love to see what new skills they could give us, and all the different ways that you can toy around with how they play. And their skill trees in general give you a lot to work with. A lot of stuff, cool stuff to work towards. Obviously, you got a lot of increased cooldown or duration and stuff, but then, like I said, you can get Moses Iron Bear can remain active for a while after you get out. It's almost like a sentry, which is really cool if you use like rocket pods, so you just see this thing firing rockets everywhere. Really fun classes to play as. Any one of them you can really play as and have a good time with. A little thing that I'm really glad they brought back from the pre-sequel, and they had a little bit in too, is character's dialogue. In the first game, most of the second game, the character didn't say anything other than just call out dialogue. Now they actually like they had in pre-sequel, they have unique dialogue to what everyone says, so what's going on. So it's really fun to just see, what does Zane have to say about this? What's Zane's response? What's Flack got to say about this? And great voice acting from all of them. I love that Flack is pro ZD. He is just really funny in the role, especially with the way he plays the character. Flack is very much like, I don't understand, I just want to kill stuff, I don't understand all these human things. It's such rewarding gameplay. So many games you gotta pay to get cool shit. In Borderlands, you get cool shit just by playing. You get skins, you get heads, you get cool guns, you get really awesome shit that just keeps you in that gameplay loop because you want to just get whatever's out there. And there's a grind aspect to that. It's a loot game, of course there's a grind. You want to fight bosses multiple times in hopes of getting that one legendary that you really want. But they got rid of badass tokens, which in the previous games you put points, you complete challenges, you get points, you put them into like increase rate of fire, increase status damage. But once you beat the game, you're able to do this. You put points into similar stats, and doing so along these trees can unlock you some little cool bonus effects, some skins, some weapons. There's weapon skins now, which is cool. You can customize your guns with different skins, arms, much like something in Rainbow Six Siege. Like, there's just a lot here. This is a very packed game. It just 5 out of 5. I'm just gonna get to it. Overall score for gameplay. This is a 5 out of 5 game. It's really fun. It's worth your time playing. They just took what works in the previous games and refined it. It's the thing that was worth the wait to see just how improved upon the gameplay. 5 out of 5. It's fantastic. Now to my final point, which is functionality. Now at launch, this game had a lot of problems. Frame rate issues. Split screen was a nightmare. This frame rate was just so low. There was long loading times. There still is an issue with loading times. It was just a really rough launch, so I gotta take points off for that. But as of now, with the updates, they have hot fixes so they can change things on a whim. It's very functional. It works a good deal, but it should have been that way upon release. Obviously, I'm not gonna praise it for fixing along the way. I'm gonna take points off for not having it be the way it is now when it was released. But it runs really well. I play on console. It runs fine. I want to get it on PC. I mean, I bought Borderlands 2 multiple times on different consoles. I would have no problem getting it on PC again. I mean, loading times are still a problem, but it is the controls, as someone who plays on Xbox, controls are very comfortable. All the the button layout is really good. They added a ping system. I should have mentioned that. You can ping chests and enemies and whatnot, and it's all laid out really well. Although they got rid of the because the D-pad now does left and right switches between quest, up pings things, up or down pings. They got rid of like switching weapons through the D-pad, and you can't even hold down Y, which is the switch weapons button, to open up your selection, and that kind of sucks. But it's a well put together controls. It's a well designed game when it comes to its functionality as of now. But because of that rough release, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. It should have been better. It should have been the way it is now upon release, is the best way to sum it up. Long story short, this is there's not much to talk about in this area because it is quick to sum up. 3 out of 5. Now to my final thoughts. Borderlands 3, with its flaws, some can't excuse because of the long time we've had to wait, but I find it very satisfying. It is something that I enjoy after all these years of waiting. It is a game that I am still playing because there's so much to do. There's so much to loot. The DLCs add so much more. There's so much to play around with. And just as a loot game, this game reestablishes Borderlands as the king of looter shooters. It is something that other games should take note of when it comes to types of enemies that you fight that keep it from getting old. stats on your weapons, make you want to keep playing to get something like the next cool thing, weapons and gear that look cool, unlocks for your characters such as skins and whatnot that keep you playing because you want to find the next thing, you want to get the better loot. You know, it goes without saying that co-op is still fantastic. Borderlands is a co-op game at its heart. It is fun as hell to take on bosses with your buddies. It is fun to put all your skills to use at once, to see the big explosions, the pets run around. It's something that you get a lot of joy out of. You know, it's just a really amazing co-op game. Like, despite its flaws upon release, upon now, despite its issues, it is still an incredible looter shooter experience that I would recommend playing, especially if you're looking for a good looter shooter and the others that have come out just aren't scratching that itch. Maybe this will be the one that does that because of how the loot and the shooting works, the loot and shoot. And because of that, it's gonna add up to a total score of 16 out of 20. And if you need that to be simplified, I would say a B minus. This is, you know, Borderlands 2 was an A. This is a B minus. But it's still, oh, almost fell back. But it's still a lot of fun. I would still recommend this game. If you can get it on sale, do it. If you can get the DLC, there, you know, it increases the level cap in them and stuff, and there's all that. They have timed events where you can unlock stuff and go to new areas. Like, not only is it just a fun game, but they are taking good care of it between events, updates, and listening to feedback. But that's my review of Borderlands 3. It is worth your time. It is worth your money. I'm not just saying that as a diehard fan. I'm saying that I'm being as objective as I can, or, you know, whatever the correct word is. Don't hit me with that. If you enjoyed this review, if you agreed, disagreed, leave comments, like, sub, share. You know the whole drill. You haven't come out from under a rock. You know the YouTube game. And check out our other reviews, the other two. You know, I'll try to get more out. And if you like this review system, the way I grade the game, you know, tell me if you think it's good or if it's shit, and I will listen, because how else am I supposed to improve? So later. Where were we last time? I have no idea. Oh wait, we made it to Diamond City. I got killed a bunch. Damn it! Wait, how'd I get down here? Oh my god, no! Very good. Kill, loot, return. Good job. Good job, guys. You're really nailing it. Wait! I looted and then I killed, but then I forgot to return. Say, which direction is it again? Say again.